Hey y'all, it's Coach in the Fight here. We're in Herman's Day of Prayer. We're learning how to pray here in Herman's so that we can teach others how to pray. We're finding out that not only is prayer extremely important, but it's extremely misunderstood. In other words, we don't really know what we're doing, and that's what the reason is for all of the trouble in the world is because we don't have the power through a prayer to squelch some of these wars and famines and stuff that's going on. So, here at Herman's Academy, we're taking the time. We've already looked at, some of the Third Testament. We did an exhaustive search in the book of Hermas, and we started doing an exhaustive search in the King James Version looking at prayer. But there's a lot in here dealing with prayer, and not as now here. This is a good one, Matthew 6 and 9, talking about the Lord's Prayer, but we're going to come back to that one because, that's the one we're told to use as an example of what prayer is. And so we want to find out what we're supposed to be doing and what prayer is supposed to look like. And then we're going to come back and compare it to, the Lord's Prayer. And we're going to compare it to Daniel's prayer and some other prayer, the prayer of Manasseh and some other prayers to see if they got it right. We know the Lord did, but, did Daniel get it right? Did Manasseh get it right? We'll find out. And in doing so, we'll, continue to learn what our Father calls the perfect prayer. Um, but I've gone through a lot of these so far, and then this was one of the first ones that I wanted to call out here in Psalms 4 and 1. It says, "Hear me when I call, O God of my righteousness. Thou hast enlarged me when I was in distress. Have mercy upon me and hear my prayer." And that's not the exact one. This is one, 5 and 3. My voice shall hear My voice shout thou hear in the morning. Now, the reason I bring this out is because in the Third Testament, we learn about praying in the morning. We're suggested or told, I wouldn't call it a direct command, although, it very well could be that strong. It's saying in the morning we pray for our day, praying that, we basically invite the Lord's will into our day so that we can mold ourselves around what He wants us to do and just and kind of be spirit led throughout the day, and we take care of that in the morning. It says, "O Lord, in the morning will I direct my prayer unto thee." So that's what he's talking about here. It's probably David talking. He wrote most of the Psalms, but it could be anybody. I could have wrote this too because I direct my prayers to Him in the morning. You call it lazy or don't want to get out of the bed or whatever, but I sometimes spend an extra 45 minutes or an hour, in the bed, praying, meditating, contemplating on the day and such, trying to get answers before I even get to it, kind of thing. So I just wanted to bring that one out. I'm gonna go ahead and push the pause button, and no, we'll see. Now, Psalms has a lot of prayer, prayer talk in there. Now, I've gone through these, I'm just skimming through them, but I'm looking for the ones that are, really, really pertinent to this discussion, and that's how to pray. Okay. Now, there was one here I wanted to talk on. It says, let me see, is it 84? O Lord God of hosts, how long wilt thou be angry against the prayer of thy people? So the Lord is angry against the prayer of his people, right? Well, we're going to get up there in Proverbs and see what Proverbs say, and it may give us some hint on why he would actually be angry against his people. All right, so let's go on through. I found another one down here. Now, the reason why I'm clicking through like this, guys, is so you can go ahead and look at it, yourself. You can push the pause button and read it yourself, and maybe you could give some comments and help old coach in the fight out over here. But there was one here that I wanted. Look right here. He says 102. Psalms 102, verse 17. He will regard the prayer of the destitute and not despise their prayer. Now, that ain't the one I was looking at. Um, Look at 109, verse 10. When he shall be judged, let him be condemned and let his prayer become sin. So our prayer can become sin? Wow. All right. Now, like I said, there's a lot of Psalms in here that talk about the word prayer. But the next one I want to talk about is down here in Proverbs 28 and 9. He said, He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be an abomination. Right? So if you don't keep the law, then there's no need to pray. It's saying that your prayer is detestable. So not keeping the law makes your prayer detestable. That's an interesting point. Then look at the next one in Isaiah 1 and 15. It says, "When ye spread forth your hands, I will hide my eyes from you. Yet when ye make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood." Okay, so if your hands are full of blood, your prayers are not heard. That's what it says from that one verse. Now we can hear the context right here and see if it gives any more detail. Your new moon's talking about the appointed feast and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, this is the first chapter of Isaiah. He hits us pretty hard in that one. Basically say we ain't doing nothing right. We need to quit, including prayer. Yeah, well we have to learn how. All right, so let's get ready to go on here. Okay, now the next one that I wanted to see was over here in Daniel. All right, now like I said, I'm showing you this. You can stop and you can pause and you can, see what the word says about prayer, the 66 books. But look right here where Daniel is talking about prayer, and he remember he has a serious prayer there in his book. But there was one I wanted to bring out here. Right here it says, "While I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, who I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation." Now, Gabriel is not a man. Gabriel is the angel. Gabriel is I don't know if he's I think he's an archangel. I'm not for sure. I don't know my hierarchies of angels that well. But Gabriel is over our cognizance. He's over our mental. He's over, he's the one that does dreams and, he's kind of, and so here it is. Daniel is saying while he was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel appeared to him. Right? So he's into the spirit world. That's what it's talking about here. Then look at the next one. Jonah, when my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer came unto thee into thine own temple. Okay, so that's not as significant. Let me look some more. Okay, now look here in Habakkuk 3 and 1 is where you have the prayer of Habakkuk the prophet upon Shiegianoth. We'll come back and we'll look at and we'll see if he played right. I can already tell you, it's already looking like old Daniel missed the mark up here a little bit, but we'll explore that. Apparently his prayer worked. We hope it worked because remember he was praying for us. He was doing an intercessory type prayer for us, so we hope it worked. But he don't have some of the format there, and we'll explore why was his prayer successful even though he didn't get everything right. But look here, Matthew 17 and 21. He says, "Howbeit this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting." Remember the disciples had tried to cast out some demons or something and it didn't work. And then the Messiah had to come in and do it for them. And he said, this kind, you have to have fasting, you have to have prayer. Remember, fasting strengthens our prayer. So we have to, not only do we have to pray, but we have to, we have to do some fasting to give it some more power. Right? 21:13 says, "And said the Lord, it is written, my house shall be called the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves." And that's when he was started turning over the money tables in there. All right, now look at here. 23 and 14 says, "Woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayers." Okay, now remember that the Lord discourages long prayers. He says they're not necessary, and here it is what he's talking. "Therefore ye shall receive the greater damnation." So their long prayers are harming them. So I'm gonna put down on a paper here, long prayers have something to do with it. Now I'm not gonna put it down because long prayers are acceptable. Is that these guys are doing this whole pretense thing. Now, as you know, the Gospels, they kind of repeat themselves, so it's basically saying the same thing. But when we get all the way over here in Luke, we start to see something else. Look here, Luke 1 and 13. "But the angel said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayer is heard." Right, so this would imply that sometimes our prayer isn't heard, right? And that's the purpose of this whole class is because it's true. Sometimes our prayer don't have the necessary efficacy or the necessary strength or force to reach the mark and therefore is rendered ineffective. Who wants an ineffective prayer, especially when we need it? You know what I'm saying? It's supposed to be our most powerful weapon. Well, we got to learn how to use this tool. We gotta try this sword so when we're in the heat of the battle, we're not fumbling around and trying to figure something out, right? Because we want our prayer to be heard. All right, yeah, so it's pretty much saying the same thing, but you can look there, like we said. I want to jump all the way. over here to a certain part of Acts. Right here, Acts 6 and 4 says, but we give ourselves continually to prayer. Continuing to prayer. So that means they're always praying, and it's praying for others. So it's an intercessory type prayer that, that they're doing there in Acts chapter 6. They're praying continually. Um, okay, let's go down here to chapter 16. Look at verse 16, chapter 16, verse 13. It says, on the Sabbath, we went out of the city by the riverside where prayer was wont to be made. So they was wanting to pray by the river. They said, well, why? Because, it gives them like an area of tranquility. The water would have, kind of added some white noise kind of thing and, kind of helped them to get to, a closer place that they needed to be in order to hear from the Lord. So they chose the river. I choose the woods, maybe because I don't have a river close by. All right, let's jump down a little ways. Don't look. I looked through these ones here in Romans. You could look through them too. But now look down here in Corinthians. Defraud ye not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer. I think it's talking about the whole husband and wife thing. And come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency. Yeah, this is talking about that husband and wife thing. But one thing you can notice is that we're not receiving a whole lot of direction as far as, what we're supposed to be doing. Look at Ephesians 6 and 18. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit. So we're supposed to pray in the Spirit, is what it's talking about here. Now, I can't really make you understand what it means to pray in the Spirit, but to pray in the material means to pray out loud, or to pray to a figurine, or to pray, it's something somebody can see you praying. If somebody know you're praying, you're not really praying in the Spirit. Nobody can really tell when you're praying in the Spirit. It kind of looks like you're sleeping, or something. And watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. Oh, look, oh, I messed up. Supposed to come over here and go down to that. Okay, so let's go down. I gotta jump over and see where it was. Philippians 4 and 6. Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And this is what we found in Hermas. We talked about it. He said, don't be thinking about what you're praying for. If you need it, pray for it. Let the Lord decide whether you'll get it, or whether He'll give you what you really need or whatever. But you have to pray. Remember that he who doesn't pray is kind of an alien to the Father. So we have to pray even if it's wrong. Now, here in the New Testament, I was hoping to see more of instruction about prayer, but it's really not there. We don't have a lot of instructions on how to pray and what to pray for. It's just talking about um, giving us examples of it. All the way through Hebrews. Now, when we get into James 5 and 15, it says, "And the prayer of faith shall save the sick." Right? So, how about instead of, figuring out who the best doctor to kill to cure you of your ailments, how about learn to pray and cure yourself? He said, "And the prayer of faith shall save the sick, and the Lord shall raise him up, and if he have committed sins, they will be forgiven him." Now, this is John 5. It's talking about how we are supposed to, get our sins, forgiven, how we're supposed to use the church to do so. All you have to do is find a elder of the church and have him, to follow these procedures here in John chapter 15. Now, it's a lot of debate on, who the elders actually are, but I say grab the first one you can, and have them to get you some oil there, and get John chapter 15 and see if you can, get some hints, get some of your illnesses healed. Confess your faults one to another and pray for one another that ye may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Okay, now let's look at this one in First Peter. It says, "Ye husbands, Dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife, and unto the weaker vessel, as unto the weaker vessel, as being heirs together in grace and life, that your prayers may not be hindered. So we don't want our prayers to be hindered. So, it's talking to us husbands, telling us some stuff that we have to do for our wives there. What does it say? Honor, I'm writing this down. Honor the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and being heirs together in of the grace of life, that your prayers. Okay, so we honor our wife so that our prayers are not hindered. Right? I'm writing it down. Okay. Now, I'm gonna look through some of these things. Look at it. It says 4 and 7. But the end of all things is at hand. But be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And then we get into Revelations. Now, one thing I've noticed about Revelations is all that it's talking about is the prayer of the saints. Revelations 5:8, which are the prayers of the saints. Which are the prayer of the saints. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. 8 and 3 is talking about the prayers of the saints. And another angel came and stood at the altar having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of the saints. So you can find out who the saints are. I don't want to argue who the saints are, but look, we've gone through the whole thing and we don't have much instruction except for the Lord's Prayer, which is an example of perfect prayer. But the last verse in the book that talks about prayer is, and the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints ascending up before God out of the angel's hand. All right, so this has been a somewhat exhaustive search of what the scripture has to say about the word prayer. I mean, saying what is about prayer, it uses some other words, intercession, different words to talk about prayer. But we're looking at the word prayer, and we'll look at some of the other words in a minute. I just wanted to put this up, y'all. All right. Godspeed. Hermes Academy. Power, patience, continence, and faith. We teach virtue.